So, in this final segment here on the third episode of Flame of the West, we're going to focus on kind of a new major development in U.S. foreign policy. We've got the Trump administration's decision to withdraw from the World Health Organization, which Trump announced on the 25th of January. So this is huge. I think we're one of I think what like 3 countries now that are not part of the WHO.
What
So
would the
so
other two
Trump
be? Like China and North Korea?
no, I think both of them are in it. There's the other 2 are like tiny little itty bitty countries.
Well, China, of course, is part of the WHO because they're doing important research for the WHO.
Yeah. So so Trump pulling us out of the World Health Organization, yeah, it's huge. I mean, I can't even get over how I can't contain my excitement. You know?
What?
It
So
the
what's to you?
WH
What's exciting about that?
well, for me, I mean, you know how many millions we dump into the WHO
Well,
and
it's like NATO or the UN. I get it,
correct.
but now wouldn't
Um,
wouldn't a lot of people look at that and say, "Well, isn't the World Health Organization a good thing? Isn't health a good thing?"
well, of course, yeah. I mean, of course, health's a good thing, but when you get it, it's like anything. When anything becomes too big, it's just bloated. So the UN over the years has just become so bloated, and they've ended up becoming a hopefully we don't get kicked off for this, but a pawn for the CCP, for the Chinese Communist Party. And they that's all they are, really. And we're dumping
The
our
United
money
Nations.
into it. No, I was talking about the World Health Organization,
Oh,
but
so that you
that's
think they're a
I know.
pawn for the Tricoms?
Oh, of course. Oh yeah.
Okay,
Oh yeah. I think they're all in it. They're all in bed together, and we're
that's a
funding it.
that's a perverted thought, isn't it?
Um so So this is not an isolation. This is what this is a liberation from it's a bureaucracy, really, that's kowtowed to China, um, while the entire world burned. I mean, we saw it in 2020. I mean, we got to shut everything down, and all they did was kowtow to China. And this is basically America reclaiming her control over the health dynasty, our health dynasty. This move has not so surprisingly sparked debate worldwide, with some claiming that it has endangered global health. Shocking. While us conservatives see it as a step towards reclaiming our American sovereignty in an I from from inefficient intellectual bureaucrats. So let's dive into some of the facts behind the withdrawal, its implications for global health, and what it means from a conservative and Catholic perspective. So let's start where we should always start, with what we know. The Trump administration formally notified the WHO of the US's intent to exit, citing a long-standing concerns over the organization's structure, funding discrepancies, and its handling of major health crises, which they just announced after we talked about leaving. They've just announced that they're running out of money. So,
Well, isn't
surprise.
that crazy? Not only them, but the UN and NATO are they're all up in arms like, "We're out of money, we're out of money, the United States is pulling out." Well, maybe y'all should have been paying it. What is it that the liberals always say about rich people and taxes?
Yep, paying your fair share. We've got the US has basically been the largest single contributor to the WHO, which the United States has provided around 22% of its assessed budget and additional voluntary funds totaling hundreds of millions of dollars annually.
But okay, what is their total budget? I want to know. So what are 22%? What are we getting for it?
Well, it doesn't so far it doesn't look like we're getting a whole lot. Let's see what.
I don't think so either. All that these organizations really do is suck money off of us, and it sounds maybe selfish to say it, but they take money from us, and when anything happens, they come running to us and say, "We don't know how to do this. Help us!" No,
Yeah, just pulled it up. It looks like the WHO's annual budget is 6.83 billion.
okay. Well,
So you
let's do the
figure
math
that
on that.
that was their budget for 24 to 25, which was 11% increase from 22 to 23. That's really staggering to me.
That is, we said we provide. Was it 22% of assessed budget in
Yeah,
voluntary funds?
Yep, we provide 22% of its
Okay.
assessed budget and any additional voluntary funds. So,
Now, just for the folks out there who are listening, my calculator did the math here. If I typed in the right number of zeros, that's 1.50 billion dollars. Billion we're
with a B.
given to the UN or the WHO every year. Yes,
Yeah,
billions. I mean, that's insane. I don't think the Pentagon even has. Well, the Pentagon probably has a budget bigger now, but I mean, $1.5 billion to the World Health Organization. We're getting jack out of it, and we had a global pandemic.
Yeah.
On their watch. I mean, I won't get into that too much, but yeah, that's what we got out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and really, I mean, what did they do for us? I mean,
Well, in all
we
honesty,
did all the work.
what do they do for anybody? What
They
does
just
the World
give
Health
us
Organization do?
recommendations, really.
Look, I can get recommendations for a lot cheaper than 1.5 billion. You know,
Just
Like,
just give me
oh,
just give us
yeah,
just give us a few million and we'll
yeah,
give you all the recommendations.
just give. I'll take a million, and I'll say, okay, I got some good health recommendations for you right now. Wash your hands, blow your nose, cover your sneezes, and there. I mean, that's really all you got to do.
So basically they pushed this shot on the world. The last administration completely took him as gospel.
No, to be fair, Trump was working with his first administration. And I don't know if that was complete willingness or he listened to Fauci because Fauci's the expert or whatever, you know. But to be
Right.
fair, you know,
And we and I look at Trump's first term and say, that was like that was the trial. That was the trial run, for Trump 2.0. He didn't know Fauci going into it.
He's been in government since I think Carter, and he recently retired a couple of
Oh,
years ago, I believe.
yeah,
But
me too.
I mean, he was in government since Carter, and he was the highest paid. If you didn't know this, the highest paid employee of the federal government, and he probably wasn't just getting money from the federal government. Now, can I verify that? No, but I mean, Wuhan Labs and all that. So you never know. I mean, but he's still the highest paid person in the federal government. You would expect that if you had an uncynical view of the government, you said, well, this guy's been doing this job for a long time. Well, he should know what he's doing. Then you would probably listen to him. Maybe that's what Trump did, you know? But I mean, now it's like fool me once and fool me twice.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and just to add to that, not to throw any fuel on the fire, but he went right from college to working for the federal government. He's never held practice, never seen a patient ever. So,
Nope.
just throwing that in there, putting a little fuel on the fire for all of our
No.
tin hat conspiracy theorists.
I mean, and I think I mentioned in our first show that I am in a healthcare field too, and that would be like me going to school and never practicing, but then going right back into that school, teaching other people how to do it when I myself don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's dangerous
Yeah.
without any practical
That is.
experience.
Yeah, how can you advise somebody if you've never done it? That's just the way I look at it. So, I've got one simple farewell message to the WHO. Good riddance.
That,
But
that
we always
that's all you really need to say.
That's right, right. But, we always have some critics, right? So,
Oh, true.
we've got,
True.
critics within the administration who have pointed to the WHO's perceived favoritism towards certain member states, particularly during the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic, where delays in declaring a public health emergency and reliance on incomplete data from specific countries led to global repercussions. The withdrawal process from the WHO is set to take effect 1 year after notice date. Why we can't just, say sayonara, I don't
Why
know.
are we giving them a year to another $1.5 billion? Why are we giving them that?
Yeah,
Is it a bureaucratic thing? Is
yeah.
it we have to do that? I don't know.
Probably some kind of formal, contract that we signed with them originally. I'm sure it has to be something like that.
Got to be something to do with
Um,
lawyers, legal stuff.
yeah. Oh, yeah, there's always anytime there's something weird, there's a lawyer involved.
We
So,
do apologize if there are any
basically
lawyers watching this, but I'm sure if
not all
lawyers,
lawyers give weird
no,
advice, but
no, I'm sure if there is, yeah. I mean, and I'm sure there are lawyers watching this. I'm sure that they would say, yeah, you know what, they're probably right.
so we've got the withdrawal process set to take effect after a year. Okay,
Uh,
so here it says aligns with conditions outlined in the original joining resolution from 1948.
1948 is an important year. Like, a lot of weird stuff happened that year.
Yeah,
Wasn't that when the UN was formed too, or was that a little earlier than that? It seems to me 1948 is
it was
ringing a bell. I think
yeah, it
maybe
was
it was
right
in
ar
Israel too.
it was right around there.
Hmm.
So to understand why this step was taken, we need to look at the organization's track record here. So you've got conservative and analysts have highlighted instances where the WHO's decision where the WHO's decisions have appeared influenced by political pressure rather than pure science, which we
So they're
see
not
that a
trusting
lot
the
in our own country.
science.
Right. It's all about the science. So, for example, we'll give you an example here. During the 2019-2020 outbreak, the organization was criticized for not pushing harder for independent investigations into organizations and for echoing narratives that downplayed human to human transmission risks early on. This led to perceptions that the WHO prioritizes diplomatic harmony over aggressive health interventions, which, I mean, we've seen that over and over and over again. So, really, what's happened to the science? Additionally, the US has raised issue with the WHO's governance, where similar nations hold equal voting power, sometimes resulting in decisions that do not align with American interests or values, such as on issues related to family planning and reproductive health policies. And we've seen this, I mean, the WHO's already been pushing, the A word, and they've been pushing things that
No,
don't align with science.
we've already gone with the COVID shots and everything. I think this is opinion, my opinion. But what that sounds like to me is they're not into the health business. They're more into the population control business, and they're more into it. It all goes back to power. I think it all goes back to money and power. And can
Yeah,
we have
it
more
does.
money and put more control over people?
So if we take this and look at it through a conservative viewpoint, this withdrawal is basically a reclaiming of Americans' independence. The U.S. can now redirect those funds, estimated at 400 million a year,
I think
which
it's
you
I think
you
we figured it out.
calculated
It's
that
more
was a
than
little light.
that.
Yeah.
You know,
So I bet this is a little light. I bet you're a little closer. But we can basically take those funds, to bilateral health initiatives, where accountability is higher. They're gonna be run right here by the United States instead of sending our money to God knows where,
China.
and yeah, to China. So these and those outcomes are basically gonna directly benefit Americans. So conservatives are arguing that international organizations like the WHO have grown bloated, just like I was saying. They've They've grown bloated and ineffective, with astronomical administrative costs eating into program effectiveness. Historical precedents have shown that when the U.S. leads independently, as in the PEPFAR programs for HIV and AIDS, results are tangible. Millions of lives have been saved through targeted aid. Without the constraints of a multilateral body, the U.S. can focus on partnership with allies who share its values, avoid entanglements with other regimes that suppress religious freedom and human rights. This kind of just
No,
ties back into what we were talking about with Canada and China.
tariffs.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's the same thing. Everything we're seeing from the Trump administration trying to save us from the Chinese crap coming through Canada, pulling out of the
mhm.
WHO. I mean, really, this is trying to protect our interests and get away from a an organization that cozies up to regimes that are known to suppress and stifle human rights.
That'd be China and North Korea, would it not be?
Yeah, and
Okay.
potentially Russia. A lot of people are they're gonna spit right off and say that, "Oh, Trump just doesn't care about science," and, "Oh, the United States is gonna fall so far behind." And no, if you really dive in and look at it, this is for America's interest. Just look at the money we're gonna be saving for crying out loud.
Was that $1.5 billion a year?
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
That's
So,
even for government. That's a lot of money.
that's a lot. That's a lot of money. I mean,
Mhm.
you and I will never see that much money in our lifetime. I mean, so let's consider the global health implications. Okay, let's say there's some. The WHO has expressed grave concerns that the US's exit could create gaps in funding for disease surveillance and vaccine distribution. Huh. An emergency response in developing nations. So they're saying that, oh, you if you pull this money out, people are gonna die. People are gonna die, Joey.
Well, wait a minute. Oh, never mind. Go ahead. That that's my tinfoil hat talking. No, go ahead.
So, with the US contributions gone, other donors like Germany and surprisingly, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation are big donors to the WHO.
Oh,
Sounds like they're going to
surprising.
need to step up a little bit.
Oh my gosh, surprising. Bill Gates has been into world health, should we say, for a long time. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah,
that's another tinfoil hat
and
episode.
that's not even tinfoil hat. I've seen him say that he wants to cut the population of the world. So
Yeah, yeah.
that was on a
He's been
TED talk for crap's sake.
Yep, yep. So the WHO has also stated that there could be potential straining resources for programs combating polio, malaria, and new emerging threats. Conservatives, however, have countered the WHO's inefficiencies, such as slow response to Ebola outbreaks in Africa, has demonstrated the need for serious reform within the WHO. By withdrawing the US, This signals that it will not fund an organization that fails to hold all its members accountable, especially when the majority of contributors, like China, expect disproportionate influence without transparency. So, sounds like at the end of the day, I think this was a pretty good decision. Now, the left
Yeah,
is gonna cry and whine
they
and,
will.
say that the United States, all they care about is,
Money, money, money.
the
But
rich elites, and they're gonna kill the rest of the world.
I think that's ridiculous though. And going back to what it says about Australian resources for polio, malaria, emerging threats, etc. When you let human ingenuity loose, it'll find ways to do things. And just because a government program on doesn't mean it's gonna um, that all hope is lost for it. Probably quite the opposite. You'll have people looking at that and say, maybe I can figure out how to do that instead of, oh, the government's gonna do that.
Exactly.
Doesn't that make more sense?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is a great point for
That's free
and
enterprise.
and
That's free
correct.
enterprise. I just made an argument for free enterprise.
Yeah, and I think this'll that will funnel nicely into our Catholic Christian tie-in that I have here at the end of about subsidiarity. That's a prime example for that. Let's look at this. This is definitely not the first time the U.S. has withdrawn from a global orbit organization. The U.S. left UNESCO in 2017 over similar concerns about bias and inefficiency. Yet it continued to engage on cultural heritage issues bilaterally instead of being within this organization. So the US can still continue to do these things, still continue to be in the global health business without being in the WHO. So similarly, conservatives have pointed to the WHO's handing of Taiwan's exclusion despite its effective pandemic management. So that was one we were talking earlier, Joey, that one of the countries that is not in the WHO is Taiwan.
Taiwan is not. And
Correct.
but
But they had very effective management of the pandemic.
COVID pandemic.
Yep.
Okay.
So it just goes to that just goes to show you that you don't have to have a global organization to have a good response to these kinds of crises, so to speak.
I
So
was gonna say something, but get tinfoil hat talking. I'll just leave that.
so this
Let's
is
not go
this
there.
is definitely there was definitely political favoritism towards Beijing from the WHO. This has had real health costs. So during COVID-19, Taiwan's early warnings were ignored by the WHO.
So what was their? I don't recall that. What were their warnings? Did you have that written down?
I,
I have to
I
look that up.
from this, I'm just gathering their warnings were verbal. Hey, there's something going on. We need to look at it,
Oh, like
and that the
like
WHO is
people are dropping dead in
ignoring.
the streets in China, and
Correct.
hey, we might want to look here.
Yeah. So the withdrawal allows the U.S. to lead alternative coalitions, perhaps through the Quad or G7, if we want to continue to go through, some sort of a um, global organization, but focusing on transparent, value-based health corporations. So, as conservatives, we believe in generous aid, obviously, and I know Joey that you would completely agree with me on that. Um, but we don't believe in going through channels that dilute accountability or empower our adversaries. The US's withdrawal from the WHO is a bold step towards reclaiming control over our health policies and resources. While some see this while some see this as risk to global corporations, conservatives view this as an opportunity to build better alliances free from bias and inefficiencies. So if we look at this from our Catholic perspective, the decision invites reflection on solidarity and subsidiarity. The church teaches in Fratelli Tutti, I believe. Joey,
Fratelli
correct me
tutti,
if I'm wrong. I believe that's how you say it.
fratelli
That we
tutti.
that we must work together for the global common good, especially in health matters that transcend borders. Yet subsidiarity reminds us that decisions should be made at the most local level possible. And we see this even here in our own nation, that they try to push things at the government level, things that should be done at the local level. And that's a whole we could have a whole 3-hour show talking about how
Absolutely. And
how things should be brought back to the local level and not done at the federal level.
that's the whole conservative movement in a nutshell, really.
Correct.
But yeah, we can talk for hours and hours, days and days about it. And that's really what everything boils down to is yes, you want everything to be at, I mean, if you can take care of it at the town level, take care of it at the town level because they know better what their roads are like, their hospitals are like their police and fires like, rather than having some probably well-meaning bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. saying, well, that's a small town. They don't
Right.
need as much money or something like that,
Yep. Yep. So so here that means prioritizing American-led initiatives where we can ensure ethical standards aligned with respect for human life and dignity. We cannot fund organizations that compromise on our core values, such as when health policies promote agendas contrary to the sanctity of life. As Catholic conservatives, we must continue to pray for a world where our health serves life and not politics. Hard stop. I mean, we can't continue to allow the rest of the world to dictate that to us.
And I'm gonna hack off a lot of our well-meaning Catholic brethren here, but that's like as a Catholic, you cannot vote for anybody who supports abortion. And as long as they
That's
do,
correct. So, what what can we as, you know, little old you and me sitting here in America, what can we do? So, we can support US health policies first. We can expose the WHO's scandals. We can basically trust our governments. We can get involved in our local schools, just like we talked about with subsidiarity. Our local schools, our town councils, local elections are huge. Local and state elections are huge. You got to make
I
sure.
I want to butt in there because anybody focuses on the congressional elections or the presidential elections. We got to remember that as much as you see Donald Trump or um, Speaker Johnson or Nancy Pelosi or any of those folks on TV, they cannot directly affect us. But those folks that you elect
Correct.
to town council, to mayor, to county, or township trustees, et cetera, they affect you way more. And the sad thing is that I don't think we pay enough attention to those local elections because obviously the big elections, the big national elections get huge turnout, and the quote off year elections get minuscule turnout. So you're having the people who are engaged, whether it's on your side or the other, electing people who are going to run your town, and you're letting them have their say, but you're not taking your own say in it. So at least do your research. And the kind of demise of local newspapers, and this is maybe me showing my age a bit, it's kind of contributing to this because we don't see the news about our local officials anymore. We don't see that local control, not control, the local government, the local elections mattering. All we see is the news from these things telling us that we got to pay attention to Orange Man or the Democrats or whoever, you know.
Yeah.
But we really need to pay attention to those local elections. And with that, I'll get off my soapbox and let you get back to what you're talking about. But
No,
that's something I
that's
think we all need to think about.
that's perfect. That's perfect, Joe. Um, so really at the end of the day, we just need to put our trust in God over governments. I mean, yes, government's important. Yes, your local government's very important, but at the end of the day, we need to put our trust in God over everything. So going forward, what is the takeaway here? This withdrawal teaches us the importance of vigilance in international engagements. Conservatives have long argued for reforming or exiting bodies that do not serve U.S. interests. Now is the time to advocate for alternatives that prioritize our freedom and transparency. Support organizations like Samaritan's Purse, which provides direct health aid grounded in Christian values, or contact your representative, your local government, support local, support your local, women's shelter, your local, pro-life
Pregnancy
pregnancy
problems
centers.
better. Yeah.
Those are huge. Or contact your representatives and find out how we can back, a bilateral health partnership. They would obviously know all of that. So history shows that when America leads with strength and principle, the world benefits. Think of the eradication of smallpox through US driven efforts in the 1970s.
Well,
So
that's go